Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our /EntitledPeople, where people truly believe they can do what they want, when they want, because they're special. And in today's episode, guys, I know I say this a lot, but you'll be shaking your heads so hard. We've got Karens running people over, messing with the wrong customers, yelling at tourists, and one OP tells a story about a rich vacationing family thinking that they can do what they want and they get taught a lesson. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories, don't shake your heads too hard, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. Let's dive in. So this happened this week, at my daughter's job at a store where everything costs $1.25. She's a cashier. This one lady came in and she wanted to return an open pack of batteries, stating that they weren't the size she needed. Now that's no problem. My daughter says, "Can I please have your receipt?" Karen says, "I don't have one." Unfortunately, our store policy states we can't do a return without a receipt. The Karen gets very upset, and that's when she asked for a manager. The assistant manager is called over and she explains the same thing. No receipt, no return. The Karen is livid at this point. She's cursing and yelling at the assistant manager and demanding she take the return because other stores would. It goes on for a while and the assistant manager is keeping her head level and the Karen keeps making a scene. Finally, the assistant manager calls the main manager on the phone. She sighs and she tells assistant manager to tell Karen to come in the next morning when she's there and she'll take care of it. This apparently pisses off Karen to no end, and she finally leaves the store screaming. The woman did not come back in the next day to get the refund that she wasn't eligible for. 2 days go by, and that's when my daughter, who's again at the register, gets a heads up from the assistant manager that battery Karen's back. The Karen walks around, gets an item, and she goes to check out. She again says she wants a refund for the batteries, which she then throws at my daughter's face. Batteries hurt when they hit the face. The Karen's agitated beyond belief, and she's yelling, cursing, and bringing things to a new level of rankness. The Karen then quickly grabs the item and she ran for the door. The assistant manager yelled at her that she hadn't paid for the item and to please come back. And that's when Karen yells back that she considered it an even exchange for the battery refund. The batteries that she picked up and she had in her other hand. The assistant manager ran out after Karen, who then hopped in her car. So the manager decided her only option was to take a picture of the license plate and leave it to the police. Well, the Karen then decided that the best thing to do is to aim her car at the assistant manager and tries to run her over. The assistant manager managed to jump mostly out of the way, but got nicked by her car pretty good. Needless to say, the police was called and they ran the plate. And they also saw the video of Karen assaulting my daughter with the batteries. We haven't heard what came of it yet, but probably nothing good for the Karen. All of this for $1.25. Yeah, that is definitely not worth the jail time that Karen's facing for that wild stunt. Like, I'm pretty sure it's attempted murder at that point with the vehicle. And this person comments, "I once had a Karen flip her lid over a penny. So $1.25 is major cash." It was over a coupon that was for $3 off an item, and whatever she was buying was on sale for $2.99. She wanted me to pay her the difference despite getting her item for free. Absolutely ridiculous. And this person says, "It's not about the money, it's about power and control." She wanted her way for the sake of making people do her unreasonable bidding. She sees others as NPCs, not independent humans with rights and responsibilities of their own, so anyone bucking her authority must be punished. So this happened in November, but after years of listening to stories, I figured I'd put my own on. Out of the blue, my healthy, hardworking husband had a stroke. We were just chatting one night, and then wham, our lives changed in the blink of an eye. An ambulance was called and we went to the emergency, and I spent a horrific night wondering whether my husband was coming home again. He was put on the stroke ward, and for the first 2 days, I was back and forth to the hospital constantly. It's not close to my house, so when I was unable to be there due to visiting hours and him having tests, etc., I would go to a coffee shop not far from the hospital, much closer than my house. I also chose that place as I know the staff. I work for myself, so I would take my laptop or my book and just kill time until I could go back to the hospital. The longest I was ever there was maybe an hour and a half. Enter Karen and her brow-beaten husband. I was trying to answer some emails and I was letting people know what happened when all of a sudden I heard it. I hear someone say, "You are so damn selfish sitting here when other people need this table." I look up, not sure who she was talking to, but it was me. Now, I know that people table hogging is annoying, but 1, there were quite a few empty tables around us, and 2, there were people who had been there before I got there. She didn't wait for my reply, she just huffed her way out the door, muttering how selfish I was, and that she had seen me there yesterday. Now, I don't think she expected me to follow her, but I did. I was tired, worried about my husband, and I was mad as hell that she didn't have the gall to say it to my face and stick around. Like I said, she picked the wrong time and the wrong woman. I follow her outside and I ask her to repeat what she said to my face. I said, yes, I was sitting on my laptop, but the staff knew I was there waiting to go back to the hospital, as my husband just had a stroke. I also told her that I still needed to work, so I was doing what I needed to do, and maybe she should mind her own business, or at least have the common decency to say it to my face. I maybe should not have called her a geriatric old cowbag, but I did. And the woman screamed at me saying, "I'm only 53. To which I replied, "You're only just 3 years older than me? Damn, you must have had a hard life. I'm so sorry about that." The woman stormed off after screaming some not so nice words at me. And when I went back to the coffee shop, my friend told me that she was a pain in the ass for always harassing students who came to study, and she always got a takeaway coffee anyways. I was the first one to stand up to her. I think her mistake was thinking I would take it, but she messed up messing with me as I'm someone who doesn't give a crap anymore, and she should have known better. I do feel bad for commenting on how she looked, as I believe we should all age gracefully, but she deserved everything else. You know what, can't say she didn't deserve that, right? Like, don't say rude things to others and you won't have rude things said back to you. I just hope Karen was traumatized by it and she learned her lesson to not make nasty comments to strangers. Also, I gotta figure out how to work in geriatric cowbag into my conversations, because that's a very unique insult I've never heard before. And before we go on to the next post, guys, let me know if you've ever unleashed on a rude person before. So I met my first in real life Karen and I had to share it. My girlfriend and I were at a national park and we were resting at a great spot that had amazing views. We were sitting down for a few minutes when a group of about 5 people come up and they stop to take pictures. We were about 70% out of the way. And that's when I hear, "Let's just wait until these people move." I know this one woman's talking about us, so I scoot back a little to accommodate. No big deal. Well, standing about 2 feet away from us, she just keeps talking about us like we're not even there. She's saying, well, if these people would move, we would have a much better picture. But no, they want to be rude and inconsiderate to everyone else. And that was the one that got a response out of me. I calmly and simply said, "We're just taking in the views and relaxing." The Karen then responds, "Well, go relax somewhere else. This is a great spot for photos and you're ruining it for people who want their picture here. We'll just wait for you to be done being selfish with this spot." By now, there was about 10 people standing around, taking pictures and also watching this lady get pretty heated. I finally stand up and tell her if she asked politely for us to move initially, I would have been more accommodating, but calling us rude and selfish behind our back with us within earshot was not the civil way to handle it. Another thing. What Karen didn't know was I kept taking glances at her near the end. I made the kill shot observation. And as she kept talking about us being rude, I said, "Your attitude has been insufferable." And I can guess that's probably why there's no ring on your finger. And it went perfectly. Her face turned bright red, as if someone had never stood up to her before. You could see it go through her, and all she could do was slump and look down at the ground. One of her friends said that was way too far, and maybe they're right. But I ended it with, all I did was make a logical conclusion based on an obvious observation. The others with her just laughed, and one guy even said, "Oh crap, she's getting called out." So yeah, hopefully this prevents her from being an insufferable C-word to people in the future. Okay, I'm just gonna say this, I like a Karen getting insulted as much as the next person, but the wedding ring thing was absolutely savage. NOP maybe did cross a line there, you never know, right? It would have been a mega low blow to find out that Karen was a widow and she had lost her husband or something. Again, I'm just glad it worked out, and by the sounds of it, her one friend who was like, "Oh, she's getting called out," maybe knows how insufferable she can be. So this isn't a story about one individual acting up, but it's a whole family that decided that acting like public nuisances was the thing to do, until it cost them. For some context, my sister told me and the rest of us this story a week ago, during our summer holiday get-together. For some more context, my sister lives a ways out of town, and it's her husband, and her 2 black labs. Her neighbors are cabin owners who aren't usually around. As she puts it, it's a nice quiet place where a person can do whatever they want. The issue deals with the cabin immediately next door. So that said, this story starts in the spring of 2023. A family of 5 show up at the cabin. At first, my sister said it's no big deal. She said it looked like your typical suburbanites. 2 parents, 3 kids, 1 dog. The issue started when brother-in-law starts to find trash in the yard a week or so in. Things like candy wrappers, frozen treat trash, the kind of stuff you usually get out of a gas station cooler. Also, you have to understand that my brother-in-law and my sister take pride in a clean yard. Their dogs are very well behaved, and a part of that is having a space they can play that's safe. So when my brother-in-law found the trash, he wasn't too happy. At first, he didn't know who was doing it, until he noticed 2 boys on bikes riding down the road. They were eating stuff, and they were casually tossing the trash as they went. So brother-in-law, in his investigation, decides to talk to the source. He walked over to the cabin in question and knocked. A guy who's maybe 10 years older opened the door. Brother-in-law described him like some cheap car salesman type, and we'll call this guy Kevin for the sake of theme. Brother-in-law kindly brought up the trash, and he explained he had dogs, and due to being afraid that they might get a hold of something that might make them sick, their kids should not toss trash around the neighborhood. This dude tried to argue, insisting that brother-in-law should just keep his dogs leashed, and it's not his fault what happens, or at least something along those lines. Before brother-in-law could say anything, Kevin just closes the door. And the last thing that brother-in-law heard from the other side was laughter and the word "hick" being tossed around. My brother-in-law is a surprisingly chill guy. He knows when to pick a fight, so he chooses to stay chill. That night, he explains what happened to my sister when she got home from work. She wanted to kick some tail, but brother-in-law talked her down. Things start to get a little more interesting a few days later, when brother-in-law starts noticing a lot more trash in his yard, like deeper in. As in, there's no way this got there unless it was tossed over intentionally. So brother-in-law decides to talk to them again. He walks over, he knocks on the door, and he gets entitled Kevin again. From what my sister said, he just told off brother-in-law, that it's not something they give a crap about and they'll continue doing what they want. Plus, that my brother-in-law and my sister were just hicks. So after getting the door slammed in his face, brother-in-law starts thinking of ways to handle this issue. But Kevin and his wife tried beating them to the punch because of what happened. The next day, my sister came home and a cop was there. My sister knew the cop and they just sat down. The officer then said they got a call about a dog attack, and my sister had to have a laugh at that one. The reason being is my sister takes the dogs with her every day to work. She works for a small privately owned landscaping company, and unless brother-in-law's off, the dogs are with her. The report was from earlier that day when no one would have been home. After confirming with my sister that no, the dogs did not attack their kid, and then explaining the issues with the people staying at the cabin, the cop decides to talk further with the people who called in. After that, things quieted down for a bit. It seemed like the tiff was done, until our entitled vacationers start having parties. Now, these parties weren't loud, they seemed civil, but 2 weeks after the party started, a trash bag was dumped into my sister's yard. They had no proof it was the neighbors, so they decided to start setting up trail cams. After setting up the cameras, it didn't take long. He caught 2 really nice videos of one of the 2 boys and then their daughter dumping trash into their yard. Brother-in-law called the police to let them see what he caught on video. They couldn't get them on the trash before this, but they got 2 nice-sized fines for littering. My sister thinks the fines total had to be close to $500 or something. After this, you would think this group of entitled vacationers would attempt revenge, but because the season was gonna close soon, they must have decided to cut their losses because they left. One day, and poof. It turns out they had their own plans. My sister said it was good riddance, and for the winter, things were quiet like they would be normally, but things didn't stay that way. You would think that people would learn or at least grow up a little, but my sister said this last spring they show up again, and this time they were ready for a long haul. This time they had toys like a boat, 2 jet skis, and a couple of motorbikes. My sister and brother-in-law knew something might go down, and just in case, they set up cameras again just to make sure. So what happened was instead of throwing trash into my sister's yard, it seemed that these people really decided to become a menace in other ways. The boys would ride their motorbikes early in the day, up and down the road, revving and racing. For my sister and brother-in-law, they wouldn't be home because they work early. But my sister found out after the fact that the elderly couple down the street tried calling the cops for a disturbance a couple of times. And the thing is, Kevin and Karen knew what they were doing. These a-holes would try really hard to be obnoxious. Then, if the cops showed up, it was their word versus the callers. My sister said they were definitely trying. Besides the noise during this time, my sister said these people were starting to pile up on the trash. Instead of taking it out, they start to pile it up in the back. And this caused other issues, particularly a pest issue. Every month, this crap kept going on. The kids were allowed nuisance and the parents did their own thing. Eventually, starting in July, they start having parties again. The parties were really loud too, and much larger than before. My sister found out that the couple had made some local friends on their weekend escapades, and they had been talking crap. It seemed like the pair had worked their way into the rougher snobs of the town. All in all, these parties had the cops called on them about 5 times. In the first few cases, they got a warning, and then they start getting fines, but these people just didn't care. There was never any underage drinking, but it was stupid unreal. These were people on a mission to make my sister's life miserable, but oh, did it backfire. One bright and wonderful fall day in early September, it happened. And as my sister put it, it was fun. My sister came home from work to see 2 squad cars and a nice-sized forestry truck parked outside. She couldn't fully see what was happening because of the brush and trees that separated the properties, but you could hear it. The couple were ranting and raving. Their kids were crying. Eventually, one officer walks over. Apparently, the couple had called in a robbery, and they insisted that my sister and her husband were destroying their things and taking revenge on them. So because they were mentioned, he had to at least talk with my sister. The cop was nice enough to give the details, and this is how it went down. So Kevin and Karen decided to take the family out to a nice lunch in town at one of the resorts. They ate, they did a few things around town, and when they came back, they found the front door of their patio smashed in. There was trash everywhere, and they could hear noises like grunting. They crowded back into their car and they called the cops, insisting their neighbors had broken in. But when the cops showed up, they didn't find my sister, her husband, or an elderly couple. No, it was a large black bear. At first, the couple refused to believe that some animal broke in, insisting that it was the neighbors next door, angry how they were having a great vacation. The officer said they called the forestry service, and with some careful planning, including a well-placed dart, they got the bear out. The pair of asshats just wouldn't stop though. The officer explained how they kept trying to blame my sister and her husband, saying things like, "Oh, they must have led the bear over," or "they used bear bait to destroy our house." But that's when the cop told them if anyone baited an animal, it was them, leaving their dirty trash all over. An hour or so later, my brother-in-law gets home, and he was told what happened. A cop stayed as the group came and went several times. After a while, the cop left and things went quiet. The next day, the vacationers were gone. That's when brother-in-law sneaks over to take a look. They had boarded up the back door but left all the trash. And taking a quick peek into a window, he saw a lot of damage. Cupboards were broken into, a chair and couch was torn into, the fridge door was ripped off. It looked like Kevin and company did a minimal attempt to clean up, but they must have given up. By what it seemed, this bear had a great day. Later on, from her usual poking around, my sister found out that these people were renting for the season. A common thing people do in my area. The actual owners had no clue how their tenants were acting. In the end, it was found out that Kevin and Karen got in trouble for the trash for illegal bear baiting because, yes folks, leaving trash out that causes a dangerous wild animal to break into your home or others is a big no-no. Then, to top it off, the owner of the cabin is suing for damages as well. Considering the fines they got that summer, all in an attempt to annoy my sister, it cost them a ton of money. As my sister put it, justice was served by a black bear that she named Karma. What a post that was, guys, and it's so nice to know that karma did catch up to those nightmare neighbors in the end. Like nothing worse than a family moving in and not respecting anything around them. And it makes me especially mad when people don't respect nature. That said though, frickin' hilarious how they thought OP's sister on purpose lured a bear to their property to destroy their home. Like the bear was a paid actor or something. So I've been with my boyfriend for 11 years, since he was 15 years old, and his mom has hated me since the first day she's met me. She's hated me due to my ethnicity, Albanian, and she's hated me due to my career, as I work as a model. She's decided that makes me empty-headed, vain, and a shallow person. She's also insisted that I've cheated on him throughout our entire relationship, which is a ridiculous claim. I have zero desire to cheat, and I never will. That said, late last year, she attempted to void the insurance on my boyfriend's motorbike. She tried to do this under my name, so hypothetically, when he was arrested for riding with no insurance and called his insurance company, I would get the blame. After this happened, my boyfriend and I agreed to cut her out. However, it hasn't stuck. She's left my boyfriend alone and respected his wishes for no contact, but she's continued to contact and harass me. This leads to the last few weeks. My boyfriend works as a motorcycle test rider, and he got into an awful motorbike crash while working. As such, I now need to care for him. However, his mother has been awful to me. She's called me everything under the sun, including racist remarks. I tried to block her, so she starts making new iMessage accounts, and she began to continually harass me via those accounts. Then came Friday night. The police turned up at our house. I was pretty confused, and I was quickly told that they were there to do a welfare check, as they had received multiple claims of horrific abuse that I was apparently putting my boyfriend under. Obviously, they quickly discovered that he was fine, albeit grumpy, and they left. I know for a fact it was his mother. Some of the details that the police mentioned made it obvious. I'm now at the point where I've realized I literally can't do this. I'm gonna press charges against her for the insurance and harassment, and I'm likely gonna sue her for damages. For the sake of my mental health, I need to do this. I don't want to be a victim, and she needs to be forced to stop. I've mentioned my intentions to her if she doesn't back off, and she's pretty much mocking me, saying I won't dare sue her. I absolutely will. I just feel like this morally may make me an awful person. She sucks, and I know this. However, she's old and miserable enough as is, and I feel like doing this may ruin whatever small amount of life she has left. It feels like it might be too far. I really don't know though, and I genuinely can't be objective here. So would I be the a-hole if I did this? Honestly, in my opinion, I would say screw it. Sue the crap out of that woman because she's never liked you. She's always putting you down. She wants to ruin your life, so why not give her a taste of her own medicine? And yes, I do know 2 wrongs don't make a right. Don't fight fire with fire. But seriously, for OP to put up with this for 11 years, it actually upsets me, guys. Like, she's been bullied for 11 years by this woman. Time to do something about this. At the very least, get a restraining order on this woman. And this person says, not the a-hole. His mother is abusive and becoming a danger to you and your boyfriend. You need to cut her out entirely and take some legal action. You need to figure out your best options and go from there. But this woman is a racist, vile, sickening lady. And this person says, not the a-hole. Her age does not excuse her behavior. You have a right to defend yourself however you see necessary. Make sure you're documenting all the evidence you can and have an open conversation with your boyfriend about your plans. And this person says what I'm sure a lot of you will agree with. Not the a-hole. You're well within your rights to do this, and I recognize the type of woman she seems to be, and I feel she won't ever stop until she's made to stop. You've given her a fair warning. If she doesn't take you seriously, it's her problem. You have to protect your own well-being and that of your partner's. His mom is not important here, and she needs to go away. Guys, let me know your thoughts on the matter. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's in our / malicious compliance, where psycho people are getting taught lessons they won't forget. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.